Like the fire, feel the beat. Gday Gridiron can't be beat. Lift your knee and bring the heat. Perhaps the MVP elite. From the outback through the field, we got tackles hard to steal. Catch the passes, make it real. Gridiron warriors never kneel. Gday Gridiron, down under and beyond. Gday Gridiron, yeah, the podcast come on strong.
G'day Aussie Gridiron fans, and welcome to the Gday Gridiron podcast, brought to you by the Aussie Gridiron Network. Holy cow, what a week 14. Absolutely insane slate of games from Thursday night football onwards, with some absolute heaters, some really close games, some just all kinds of things. Underdogs doing dumb things, good teams doing dumber things, everything. So we are back today in the G'day Gridiron studios, myself and Isaac, to go through all of the Week 14 reactions we could muster, both some of the ones that we could find around the league, some stuff people have sent us in the mailbag, and we are here to have a bit of a chat about some of those things and bring you what we thought was the best stuff out of the weekend. How are you doing, Isaac?
I'm doing very well, thanks, Ian. How are you?
Doing pretty well. It's a bit later than we usually record because we've been very busy boy lately. It's been even hard just to watch NFL football.
It has. Work kind of gets in the way, doesn't it?
100% it does, mate. 100% it does. Yeah, when work is really busy, it's hard to even concentrate on football, and then your phone is pinging off in the background. The boys are talking about stuff in the group chat, and you're like, I can't concentrate on what I'm supposed to be doing. What's paying the bills? Because unfortunately, football doesn't pay the bills just yet.
Matty C must have got reception back.
Yes, Matty definitely got reception at some point, and he has been in a heater in the group chat ever since. All right, Isaac, let's just jump into some reactions for today. We got heaps to go through, some big ones, and of course, we will be talking at the top here about some teams that have been eliminated in our newest segment that we started last week, where we find something positive for fans of teams who have been eliminated this week. 3 more eliminations, mate, this week. 3 more teams to be finally definitely 100% excluded from the 2024-25 playoffs in the NFL. So let's start with the one that I was hoping wouldn't be eliminated just yet. Might have gone on a week or two longer, but I don't think that is going to dampen the spirits or the enthusiasm of Jameis Winston at all. He will still be there sprouting whatever he can sprout in his pre-game speeches and all sorts of stuff. I am, of course, talking about the Cleveland Browns, who were officially eliminated this week. Their record now stands at 3-10 after a loss to the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Eliminated.
The Lord did not save Jameson from interceptions.
No, he did not save Jameis from pick sixes at all.
He asked, he did not receive.
He asked and he did not receive. There's a lesson in that for everybody, to be honest. He threw 2 more interceptions in this loss, 27-14 loss to the Steelers in Pittsburgh. You know what? Jameis was still probably the quarterback that threw them more yards, threw more passes in this game. Russell Wilson was very reserved, but as a whole, the Cleveland Browns are out. No more playoffs in 2024. One of the first times I think that they've actually missed this end of the season in a very long time. It took them a long time to win a game, but they were still definitely getting to that point. What What sort of positives can we find out of this negative, though, mate?
Well, hopefully next season they get a healthy Nick Chubb. A couple of weeks ago he had a really good game. I'm not sure who it was against. It was probably against the Bengals. And the way Jameis has been playing, it shows that Deshaun Watson was the problem. And I think hopefully they're going to move on from Deshaun Watson. And I don't know, if you probably can't trade him. It's probably up to just benching him, I guess.
Yep, you'd have to bench him. I don't think they're going to trade him, but I don't think they'll bench him either. Not for that amount of money. I think they'll still stick with it. Unfortunately, it is what it is. For Browns fans, you're going to have to deal with it for one more year. But it is what it is. All right.
And I mean, it's not a bad year.
Not a bad year.
Not a bad year to tank next year either. So we'll see what happens.
They are, with that 3-10 record now, they are currently sitting at the 8th pick in the 2025 draft order. So it's pretty good. Top 10 pick, pretty healthy for Cleveland. They should be able to address some concerns. Don't know if there's not really much of a quarterback class that's sort of coming through. So whether they go for that, they try and develop someone, or they do the smart play and actually build line and pick the best of the linemen. It should be some of the things that they do effectively. All right, second team to be on the chopping block this week. It's one that we all expected from probably some point mid-season onwards, because it absolutely fell to pieces. Fired a head coach, nothing got better. Didn't even get a bit of a bump. This week, though, they went out and played some football that was actually kind of entertaining. It was like they all decided collectively that we're going to go out, even if the season's a loss, we're going to go out and sort of see what, show everyone, or the New York faithful, what it could have looked like if they were on song early in the year. And unfortunately for the New York Jets fans, they still succumbed to the Miami Dolphins in that division. And the New York Jets are officially eliminated from the 2024 playoffs with a 3-10 record.
Eliminated.
Yeah, so the positives to come out of this are hopefully they're moving on from Aaron Rodgers next year. And in turn, with that, it brings a better culture to the club. He's not a culture guy. He's meant to be playing better, meant to be the guy, but he's just been awful this year.
Yeah, sure has been. Unfortunately, there is still some negatives for the New York Jets faithful. It's another QB miss. It's another year without playoff football. It's just it's horrible for them. They are now the only team in 30 years that hasn't been to a playoff game. It's just horrible for them. But there are still some positives that they've signed, some guys that they've picked up. Of course, Breece Hall is still an absolute beast when he's fit and healthy. When he's there, Garrett Wilson, amazing. There's a few guys on defense as well. There's guys just sort of across the whole franchise, essentially across the whole roster, who are pretty damn good players. And if you put them in the right situation, the New York Jets are probably going to thrive.
Yes, but getting the right situation has proven more difficult for the New York Jets than anyone else.
Yep.
So, yeah.
I can't. Sooner or later, ownership need to realise that culture and that putting the right situation starts with the GM and the head coach. You really do need to find the right ones.
Correct.
Yeah.
Look at what happened when the Lions picked up Dan Campbell.
Absolutely, mate. And there's a few other examples of that around the league. Coaches that just fit with franchises that can build teams. Andy Reid, Andy Reid landed at Chiefs. Look what he achieved in a short amount of time.
Yep.
You could go with Kevin O'Connell in the last couple of years for the Vikings fans. As you said, Dan Campbell, similar amount of time. So
Yep.
it happens all around the league. We'll eventually find the right head coach, the right combination. And as long as ownership backs them properly and appropriately, then should have a problem.
Yeah. I reckon Salah may have been that guy. They just had to persevere with him, I guess, and not take advice from Aaron Rodgers.
Yep. I'd agree. I don't think Salah was all of the problem. I think the problem with some of the Jets was making a bed that the ownership made more than the coaching staff made.
Yeah, well, they had a better record last year without Aaron Rodgers.
Yep, that's right. With shit quarterback play.
Correct.
And their defense was looking amazing early in the season before they get rid of Salah. And then it just looks like a bucket of arseholes. So What are you going to do? All right, number 3 on the chopping block. It is another AFC team. We seem to be going down this AFC path. And unfortunately, the world had to endure through the Tank Bowl this week. And it meant that another one of these teams, one had already been eliminated last week, and that is, of course, the Jacksonville Jaguars. But AFC South get to be the lucky recipients of 2 eliminated teams in 2 weeks now, with the Tennessee Titans officially being added to that list after going down to the Jags 10-6.
Eliminated.
Yeah, well, I mean, the positive this year is the Tennessee defense has been pretty good. Like, they haven't really, they've kept them in some games, which they kept them in on the weekend without scoring a touchdown. And the other positive is another year of Will Levis. I know that sounds bad, but as we were saying before, not a strong quarterback draft class coming up. So, I mean, Will Levis might be your best option there, and then Tank next year.
It's really hard to know. It's really hard to pick positives from this Titans team, to be honest. The defense has been good, but it hasn't been great. They've still made quite a lot of mistakes, and I think in this one it was probably just a little bit more luck that the Jaguars aren't as great either. And they were playing backup QB in Mac Jones, and I just don't know. Not a lot of positives, but there are a few. But you're right. So build around defense. See what you got in Will Levis, and sorry, mate.
No, it's another tankathon this week for the Jaguars when they play the Jets.
I know.
Who've just been eliminated as well. So,
I know.
Geez, riveting games. We'll probably get one of those on ESPN, which is bloody awesome.
I don't think so, actually. I think we might be all right.
Let's hope not.
So, just quickly, we've now got 7 teams eliminated from the NFL playoffs for 2024-25. Out of the top 10 teams in the NFL draft order for 2025, there are only a couple that aren't, and that leaves Carolina Panthers, Chicago Bears, and at the moment, the New Orleans Saints as the only teams in that top 10 who haven't been eliminated. So we move forward to next week, and we sort of see what happens after that, I guess, and see whether we get more of these teams next week.
I reckon we'll get the Bears.
I worry about the Panthers, but I'm not going to call the Bears thing. I'm not on for the jinx these days. And the Saints are playing the Commanders, so interesting to see how much longer those teams last for in terms of destroying their draft picks, which is something we're going to talk about in reactions out of week 14 from a few teams that did just that. But before we get there, we got a few other things. Let's talk about some happier things out of week 14, mate. It's been bloody great. What a great week. There's been so much going on. So many, as I said at the top, so many games that were just outstanding. We saw a couple of really, really big scorelines. In terms of that, I mean, like close game scorelines where there were some big numbers put up. We started early with Packers and Lions being an absolute heater. Jets and Dolphins was reasonably entertaining. Falcons, Vikings, holy shit, that was tight for a while. Then the Vikings just ran away with everything, you know. So let's and it was of course the big one, Bills Rams. We will definitely talk about that later. So let's go with some reactions that we found from around the league. And let's start with Minnesota Vikings stamp out any notion of a Kirk Cousins revenge game by beating the Atlanta Falcons 42-21. Sam Darnold threw for 347 yards and 5 TDs. The first time in 20 years a Vikings QB has thrown 5 TDs in a single game. Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison both went over 100 yards receiving and scored TDs. The first time ever 2 Vikings receivers have done that in the one game. Kirk Cousins was no slouch in this game, though, throwing 344 of the Falcons' 496 total yards. But it was their inability to once again score passing touchdowns that hurt the Falcons' offense. The 4th game in a row that they have not passed for a TD.
Yeah, what a performance by Darnold and the 2 wide receivers. Really impressive. And just shout out to yourself, Ian, for picking Sam Darnold in the starts of the week over on the fantasy show.
Destroyed it.
But as a Vikings fan, I'll let you have the floor, but I'll start you off with a couple of questions I've got here. Is this current 11-2 season a win or a loss, as there is a chance you may not even win the division? And what do you do with Darnold in the off-season?
The season's a win, 100% a win. I think the majority of Vikings fans already know that. There are a few delusional ones out there that keep carrying on about some weird stuff that happens individually in games without looking at it as a whole. But overall, it's a win. This was supposed to be from the minute we drafted JJ McCarthy. Sam Darnold was always supposed to be the 1 year bridge quarterback. So this was effectively a rebuilding year, if you wanted to term it that. And when McCarthy went down in preseason with a season-ending injury, then definitely it was like, okay, well, we'll just get through this season. 5-6 wins. That's a good year, and you get a decently high draft pick, and try and hit on a couple of guys again, as we did with a few guys in this previous draft. A few of the defenders have been outstanding, or you pick up another Addison like we did last year. So. You just try. That's what it was to look forward to. So I think every single game we win from here on out, even though a lot of these things have been close, one-score games, they've been gritty wins, hard-fought wins, every bit of that is an absolute win for Vikings and any Vikings fan. The only problem we'll have is Vikings fans get too much in their emotions and too much in their feels, and the closer and closer we get to playoffs with a record like this, we're inevitably going to let ourselves down. And a lot of them will just talk about blowing up the entire team again, which is just nonsensical. So It'll happen. It'll 100% happen. I'll foreskin that to everybody now. It'll happen. And when I come on the show after wildcard round and we've lost a game, let's say, and then I'll go through Vikings fans' reactions, don't be surprised if the majority of it is just basket case stuff. Like it's just ridiculous. But we were supposed to be a 5 or a 6 win team. I mean, the over-unders had us at 7.5, I'm pretty sure it was. So, we're at 11. I don't know how the hell we're at 11. We're at 11, but we're at 11. The second part of that, I guess. You know what? We could still win this division too, by the way. Win over the Bears puts us at a pretty good standing. We've got a Bears and Packers to go in our divisions. We need to win those two. The Lions are getting closer and closer to another loss. So, You just need that out of him a bit. But a lot of this could come down to the way it's all shaping out. It could come down to that Week 18 game against the Lions, which will be juicy, juicy, juicy. It was just a damn shame.
What a cracker.
Oh, it'll be unreal. All we need, though, is for the Bears, God love them, to beat the Lions. That would be amazing. And that would really put us equal with them. And, it'll give the entire NFL one hell of a showdown in Week 18. What was the second part of that, mate? I forgot about it.
What do you do with Darnold in the off-season?
Oh, yeah, of course. In my opinion, we re-sign Darnold. You try and re-sign Darnold. Yes, he's going to come with a bigger price tag. It was a 1-year, $10 million deal. The bargain of all bargains, considering what you've got out of Sam Darnold so far. There's people vaguely talking about him being in the MVP talks.
MVP, yeah.
I don't think he's that high up, to be honest. Not when you've still got Josh Allen playing the way Josh Allen's playing. And then, you've got Saquon Barkley playing the way he's playing. But great, good, no worries. 1 year, $10 million quarterback with those kind of talks, that's amazing. I still think you re-sign him. I think you try and re-sign him. Maybe like a 2 to 3 year deal, essentially. Because if you're going to get this kind of play out of him now, you can at least get this similar or expect similar next season. And it's been proven that I think the longer some of these talented young quarterbacks sit behind guys that know the system or know how to play in the NFL, know the ups and downs, the better they'll do. We can all famously point at Patrick Mahomes now, sat and actually redshirted for an entire year, and they bring him in I think it was the last or second last game of the season, and he started every game since, and they've been to multiple Super Bowls and won multiple Super Bowls. So there's that. You look at how
Jordan Love.
You look at how Jordan Love's playing now. He sat behind Rodgers for 4 years, for God's sakes. It was never supposed to be that long, but Rodgers just never played badly enough to move on from it. So great problem to have, and I think I think Sam Darnold would be smart enough to know in himself that this level of production and this Sam Darnold, who has always been a great passer of the ball, is just decision-making wise wasn't great because he wasn't taught that. So I think he knows that this Sam Darnold has been brought out of him by the coaching staff and specifically, no doubt, Kevin O'Connell, and that this is a great situation for him, and that he would know, whilst he's going to be hot on the market, on free agency market anyway, he could go somewhere else and probably get 30 to 40 million a year, like straight up with the way he's played. Someone will pay him that. The Raiders or the Giants.
The Jets.
One of those, the Jets. I don't know if he'd want to go back to that franchise. But, the Giants would do something dumb like that, or the Raiders would. They would pay that. But it doesn't mean you're going to have the same kind of success because you don't have that same coaching staff and that same surroundings. So there's a little bit of better the devil you know kind of situation. And if the Vikings, I think, threw a decent enough number at him, the way he is, you can see it in himself and the way that, when he's in press conferences and the locker room stuff, he is very comfortable where he is right now. Like, he's appreciative and all that sort of stuff. So I think if he knew that he could get play for another 2 to 3 years with a franchise like this, and make a decent bit of coin while doing it, then he probably would. So, in my opinion, I would re-sign him and try and get him on at least maybe a 2-year deal, with the view that McCarthy's going to come in eventually, and let him know that. Which I assume he knew that to begin with. I assume he came here on that team at $10 million deal for exactly that anyway. That McCarthy was possibly going to come in mid-season and they were going to switch, so that he would switch to be the backup. He knew the plan.
Yep.
So, great questions. It's always good to just get me waffling.
It's good. It's good to hear from a Vikings fan point of view because, as you say, people have Darnold up in the MVP conversation. Look, I think he's top 10 the way he's playing. But, it'll be an interesting offseason to watch what happens there.
Oh, 100% it will be. And just a quick check of the odds right now. Sam Darnold is currently sitting 6th in the odds for the MVP. Somewhere around the plus 4,000 mark. That's FanDuel as well. So
cheeky dollar wouldn't go astray on that, would it?
Wouldn't go astray. I mean, the others would have to like completely fall in the tank.
Yeah, I think maybe Josh Allen wrapped it up this week anyway, I think.
Yeah, I would say so. All right, next up. Flashback to Monday, 11th of November. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers were 4-6 after losing to the San Francisco 49ers on Monday Night Football, heading into their bye week. Back to the present, and the Bucs are now 7-6 after beating the wayward Raiders, their third win in a row, and now in sole possession of first place in the lackluster NFC South, thanks to the Falcons' woes, which we just mentioned above. Amazing run so far, mate, for the Bucs. 3 wins and a pretty favourable run home as well.
Yeah, both of these teams have a favourable run home, really. So I think the Falcons actually have an easier run home with the Panthers, who are trying to lose, the Raiders, who just lose, and the Giants, who lose as well. The only one the Falcons have to worry about are the Commanders. But the Bucs are back in their groove. Like Baker's got Mike Evans back. His running backs are performing really well, both Rashid Weiss and Bucky Irving. Kate Otten is starting to come good again. So I really think the Bucs are probably going to take out this division.
I think they are too. I'm not high on what the Falcons are putting on the table right now. And even though they do, on paper it looks like a favourable run home. It just the suspect play on offense where you can't score points is very worrying indeed. As you say, even though they got the Raiders this week, it's kind of like the Raiders or the Giants might be a bit of a trap game.
Yeah, but I think they're trying to lose, a bit like Carolina, who just seem to be in the games and then all of a sudden lose at the end there. I think the Raiders and Giants are trying to lose as well.
Yep.
And yeah, the Falcons are actually trying to win because they've got a shot at their division. So I don't see any trap games there. It's just the Commanders one that'll come down to the wire, I think.
I think what are they? Falcons are 4-1 in their division. I was just having a look at who they do have on the way home. The Panthers. The Panthers are their last game. Right. I was trying to work out where the final division game was, and it's the Panthers in week 18. So got a long way to wait there until they get to that point, don't they?
Yeah, they do.
So we may not even know who takes the NFC South until the last week of the season. God, that'll be woeful. I think, although the Bucs have got Panthers in week 17, and then the Saints in week 18. So I think if they win that Panthers game, they may have actually take the division.
Yeah, okay. And
I don't know. I'd have to do the math. I'd have to do the maths on it, and it's late, and yeah, I'm not math wise. No.
Oh, you failed math.
Thanks, Brad.
And the Bucs have the Chargers to get past as well, so that's and Dallas could throw up anything. So
yeah, divisionally, it's like it's a bit of. Oh, sorry, in the conference standings, yeah.
Yep.
Being all those NFC teams all the way home. Yeah, you just don't know. They could throw up anything. You're right. The Chargers and the Cowboys are a bit. Even the Panthers are, and we're going to talk about that in a sec too. So it's all a bit weird. Well, let's talk about the Panthers. The Carolina Panthers continue to show the league they could win games if they wanted, despite a loss to the Eagles this week. For the second week in a row, the Panthers have shown up in a game against a big opponent. They led the Eagles for almost the entirety of this game. Bryce Young leading an amazing final drive that started in the Panthers' own end zone. And if not for a stunning drop catch by Xavier Legette, we would probably be talking right now about how the Panthers beat the Eagles.
Yeah, I really like what the Panthers are doing and what they're building here, and I really feel for him how Jonathan Brooks has torn his ACL for the second time in 2 years.
Oh, no.
It's really disappointing for him as being a high draft pick and being touted as a really good running back. But they paid Chuba Hubbard a couple of weeks ago, I think, and everyone was a bit taken back by it because they had Brooks in the building. But this is probably why they did it. They may have foreseen something happening, or his knee just wasn't quite right after the first ACL. But as we've mentioned before, I think they're trying to lose. They're trying to stay competitive and give Bryce Young some confidence, which he desperately needed. And so it'll be interesting to see what happens next year when the games actually mean something to them and they haven't thrown away their season already.
I mean, I don't want to actually believe that they are throwing games, because that would be a very horrible accusation to be truly throwing out there. That they are, like staying competitive in games and saying we could beat you if we wanted to, but we don't really want to. I want to believe that they're probably just that 3 or 4% away from a good football team. See that part where you just make bad decisions at the wrong times. Not that the Bryce Young pass to Legette was a bad decision. He was so close to holding on to that ball, and he would have been untouched essentially after catching that, and he was up and in the end zone. So he, if not for that, they would have gone ahead against the Eagles. They would have also given the Eagles about another 40 seconds of game time to play with. So you never know what would have happened there, but it just seems like there's just that little bit of decision making throughout a game that goes awry, and that's the bit they need to, apart from some of the personnel, they need to improve on for next season.
Yeah, and you look at the teams that they've only just lost to, and it was the Chiefs, the Bucks, and the Eagles. So they're no slouches, and they're one-score games in all of it. So they're really competitive, which you couldn't say at the start of the season.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they lost to the Commanders 40-7. So since that point, they haven't been that bad. They've been slowly getting better and better, scoring more points, keeping the opposition to less points. So they're doing what you should be doing to try and win a game. They had some really close games early in the season too. Probably could almost beat the Bengals early on, which was a bit of a shock at the time, but we now know
not so much anymore.
But they got Cowboys, Cardinals, Bucks, and Falcons to go. These Cowboys game this week could be very interesting. I don't know if it's interesting enough to preview on the show on Saturday, but it seems like it could be one just to watch out there on Monday morning, just to sort of keep tabs on what the score looks like and what the game looks like.
Yeah, they may be slinging it all over the joint. It may be another 44-42. Let's hope so.
Could be. I don't hold out much hope for the Cowboys being able to sling it out all over the place. It still amuses the hell out of me that Cooper Rush has to use Dak's sort of his cadence. Every time I hear that now, it amuses the shit out of me.
Here we go.
Yeah, here we go. But yeah, it amuses me. Righto, next up, the Bears haven't exactly been impactful on offense since their bye week, especially in the first half of games. But no one expected the performance we got this week. The 49ers squeezed the life out of Caleb Williams and the Bears offense, sacking Williams 7 times and restricting them to just 162 total yards. It was a performance we're used to seeing from a good team beating up on a bad one, But the 49ers, Isaac, haven't exactly been a good team. With their own season in the tank, you would think the Niners would be preserving a rare chance at a higher first-round draft pick. They started out the weekend just outside the top 10 in the draft order, but this win over the Bears now drops them to the 17th draft pick overall for the 2025 draft. Chicago, however, move inside the 10 to number 9.
Did the Bears hire Eberflus back?
They might have.
Because that's how bad they looked. And seriously, what are the 49ers doing? They're at very long odds to win the division and still have the Lions, Rams, Cardinals, and Dolphins to play. Just pack it up for the season. In a relatively weak draft class, there isn't much left at pick 17. So what is the point at this time? The team's banged up. Rest up. Look forward to 2025 and just see how some of your rookies go. Like Mike Pearsall, your number one wide receiver.
Yep.
See how he goes in the number one slot.
Yeah.
Because Debo's probably gone at the end of the season. So, but you've just paid Ayuk. So, yeah, just throw some things out there.
Well, Debo came out of this game whinging or saying he's not struggling, he's just not getting the ball. So he's whinging about not getting the ball as much. And it's like,
here we go.
Come on, Debo,
Yeah.
The writing's on the wall, big boy. You need to start, thinking about where you're going to be in 2025 because it ain't going to be the San Francisco 49ers, that's for sure.
Start looking for houses in Kansas City, son.
Yep. Off to the Raiders with you, big boy. It's just you're not going to be round, mate. So that's why you're not getting the ball. But you're right. I think you're right, mate. And I'm surprised more of these guys haven't been put onto like some kind of injury, like IIR or just out of games because of phantom injuries a bit more. Or
just the designated injury.
Yeah, the injuries that they've definitely got, but they've probably been playing through. But just hold some of them out because you don't want to injure them for next season, etc. You don't want to have put injury guarantees in place or have those injury guarantees come up that are in place. But you're right. I think see what you got in some of those young guys. See what Ricky Pearsall can do. Use him a fair bit more. And why? I just don't know why you're trying to win games. I know why you're trying to win games. The players are doing it for a reason. Players are doing it for their contracts, so they can look good and they can go somewhere else. But I don't know. I really don't know.
They're currently 2 games behind Seattle in the division. I don't think they're going to claw that back in the next 4 games.
I don't think so either.
They've got the Lions, the Dolphins, the Rams, and the Cardinals. So you'd have to win out. Highly unlikely against the Lions. There's your loss there. So yeah.
Well, yeah, that's right. I don't think I don't know. They're probably one of the better teams to be able to beat the Lions, or the better bets to beat the Lions in the coming weeks, because they, like I said last week on our Saturday show, they're going to do something dumb like win. I said that they're going to win another couple of games. Here they are. They won a game. They're going to do something dumb and ruin a draft pick. And I could see them, as I said, Dan, I could see them still winning a couple more. And I would actually pick that Lions game to be one of them.
As long as you don't pick the Rams game on Friday, I'll be a happy man.
I don't think so, mate. I think that Rams game, the Rams, which we can talk about in a minute because we'll talk about Bills and Rams, the Rams are pushing for that division still, and they are really gunning for that division now. They can see that light at the end of the tunnel. That light is big and it's fucking bright. So, and it's coming at them quick. So they are looking at it going, that's what we want. And I don't think they're going to let up against the Niners. I really don't think they're going to go easy on them. I think it'll be like a Dan Campbell, Detroit Lions-esque performance where they absolutely try and dominate them on every facet of the ball and just put foot to throat. So I think that's where it'll be. So I reckon their win would be something dumb like beating the Lions, to be honest.
Yeah. Okay.
Just out of ego. Just to say we're the ones that did it,
Yeah, right. and they're down to their fourth running back now too.
I know.
think with
Isaac Garendo out.
Garendo going
they
down.
said he's got a foot sprain, and he may still be a chance of playing.
Yeah. But,
So we'll see. Fourth.
I mean, the positive there for the
I think they're at the fourth
49ers
string
as
kicker
George
too,
Kittle.
by the way.
Jesus, that'll make Debo happy. Yeah. The positive though is George Kittle. He's having an outstanding season at the moment, so
Yeah, certainly has.
that's one thing to take away.
All right, Rams v Bills was always billed as an important matchup. The Bills needed to keep pace with the Chiefs in the AFC to try and secure that number one spot. The Rams needed the win to try and keep their standing in the NFC. But nobody, and I mean nobody, expected an 80-plus point shootout between two teams at the absolute top of their game. Josh Allen broke records, scoring 3 passing touchdowns and 3 rushing touchdowns. The first player ever to achieve the feat in a regular season game in the NFL. Matthew Stafford threw for 320 yards, and Puka Nacua was like an absolute bomb and dominated through the air for the Rams for 162 yards and a tud. The Rams may have been the beneficiary of some suspect Sean McDermott play calling and time management for the Bills at the end, but it's pretty clear to the whole league that 2 things are true from this game. The Rams are an absolute wagon when healthy and will dominate the NFC West down the stretch if they are. And despite a heartbreaking loss, and contrary to what my Rams fan here tried to tell me, the Bills are the best team in football when they are on.
What an important win for the Rams. So on Saturday's show, I got laughed off when I said we will beat the Bills by our 3 compadres. And here it was. It happened. We almost choked it, but it's such an important win in terms of winning the NFC West for the Rams. It keeps them in touch with Seattle. Seattle's schedule looks a bit tougher than the Rams. They've got Green Bay, Minnesota, the Rams, and the Bears. And like your division over there in the north, Ian, we may come down to week 18 where the Seahawks play the Rams, and it could be a win. Could be a win and you're in for the playoffs.
Absolutely. And you look at those division records when you are talking, obviously, about... That's the first thing you look at when you're talking about winning a division. What's your division record look like? What's your conference record look like? So they're the 2 main things. Division records, the Seahawks are 3-2. The Rams are 2-1. So because the Rams haven't played as many division games as yet. So they've got a bunch of theirs to go. Obviously, they've got 49ers, Cardinals, and Seahawks, as you said, in the next 4 weeks. The Jets sandwiched in the middle there as well, just to give them all a bit of confidence. So super, super, super important this week. As I said, I think the Rams win that. I think they'll go to 8-6. And then Seattle, if we want to forecast a bit, they've got the harder matchup this week. Very, very hard matchup. They have the Packers Seattle, though, but they have the Packers, which is a very hard one for them. And their only division game left is you guys in week 18. So I fully expect that coming out of this next week, we'll see an 8-6 Rams with a 2-2 division record. We'll see an 8-6 Seattle with a 3-2 division record, and it'll all come down most likely to week 18, as you just said. And yeah, I mean, schedule makers, what are you going to pick in week 18 to be Sunday night football? What are you going to pick to be those late Arvo games? Because Jesus Christ, we are shaping up around the league to have quite a few divisions come down to week 18 football between the 2 teams at the top end of those divisions.
Yeah, the only negative for that week 18 game that we're looking towards is that it is at Seattle for the Rams. So that doesn't help our chances.
Yeah, hard. It's a hard run. It's a hard way up there to go all the way up to Seattle, but I mean, they've done it a lot. The guys in this
Yeah.
division have done that trip a lot, and I don't believe that it's as bad a trip anymore. It just comes down to what the actual team you're facing is like. So that's the biggest one.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's all to play for. Like you're talking with the way Tampa Bay is, you're talking like actually with the way Tampa Bay is, it's third place in the conference isn't actually set anymore anyway. You see, it could be third or fourth. So
Yeah.
you're probably talking for the Rams the difference between let's say third place or eighth place. Like that's the difference. What you're talking about. See, that you'd be talking about either going up in the wildcard round against someone like the Commanders, or coming
Very
up against
winnable games.
Yep, or coming up against Philadelphia Eagles.
Oh, that's maybe not so much.
Yeah,
At the moment.
if the Bucks get up one more as well, though, you end up in fourth. You're going to end up with a playoff game probably against the Vikings or the Packers.
Yeah.
Or
Tough
God
games.
forbid, if the Vikings do manage to take that division, it'll be the Lions.
The Lions. Oh, lovely.
So, you've got 3 NFC North teams you don't really want to face. And then, the Eagles, the Saquon Eagles.
You don't want to face them. They've beaten us just recently as well. So that's no good. But our early season injuries have probably cost us a little bit of a lead in this division. When Puka and Cooper Kupp were out at the same time, it just wasn't the same. So we've got to try and battle our way back, and it'll be good. I know many Seahawk fans, and they like chirping, and I like chirping back. So if it comes down to week 18, that would be absolutely perfect.
You can poke him on it a bit. I try to poke him on it a bit, but just so you know, our good mate Brad grew up around that area, and his original first NFL team, he tells us a long time ago, was the Seattle Seahawks.
Oh, lovely.
So
lovely.
this week on Saturday's show, when we get into those previews, very, very interesting. We might end up slotting this one into the previews, to be honest. Rams Seahawks will be a pretty good game.
Cracker.
There's going to be some crackers out of this week to preview, so we're going to have to have some discussions around which ones not to preview. The way we're going at the moment,
unlike last week.
Although if you look at what ended up happening in games, we probably could have. Oh no, sorry, we can't preview Rams. Rams 49ers because it's Thursday night
on
football.
Friday. Yeah.
Oh bugger. Oh well, is what it is. We'll just have to watch it and enjoy it instead, like the rest of the NFL.
You might get to preview New York Jets versus Jacksonville. That'd be nice.
Yeah, no, definitely not. It's going to veto that, just like Cowboys Panthers. Hey, Brad doesn't want to talk about the Cowboys. I don't think anybody else does either. Yeah, there's a few whiffs this week, unfortunately, coming up. All right, just to finish off tonight, we've got a couple of mailbag reactions. Overreactions, as it would be for one of them. We've talked a little bit about both in terms of the teams that are here, so we can throw them out if you want to say it. We can have a bit of a laugh at them, actually, because these guys didn't hold back, that's for sure. So if you want to get involved in the mailbag and reactions for this show, you can hit us up on our social medias, which you'll find the links to at our Linktree /Aussie Gridiron Network. It's the place where you will find all of the links to everything around the Aussie Gridiron Network, all of our social media, the podcast feed, as well as the socials for the Aussie NFL Fantasy guys, Mandrot's Pastry Press NFL, and Aussie Gridiron Today on YouTube, which you'll be able to watch again this week. They'll be back. The boys will be back with a big lot of interviews, no doubt, as both Matty C and Manjot get ready to call the ACT American Football League Capital Bowl for, I think, the third or fourth time those boys are going to be calling that game. Amazing stuff from them. So you'll find also link to our merch store where it's the middle of December. You can still get, it's still time to order from our merch store and get your loved ones some merchandise from the Aussie Gridiron Network or Gday Gridiron specifically as well. We've got some pretty cool sort of G'day Gridiron designs out there, as well as some pretty hilarious ones from the Fantasy Boys from over the years. So go check it all out. And then, like I said, follow along on socials, comment on the post every week about the reactions from the games or from the week that was, and we'll read out some of your reactions. Just like at Anders My Cock. You could not shit for a week, and the poo that came out on the 8th day would still be less than what the Bears' offense is in the first half. Absolutely amazing. Isaac, it's pretty certain. We talked about the Bears a little bit before, but their first half performances have been complete poo. Complete and utter poo.
Yeah, well, to be honest, I haven't really been watching much of the Bears, and that's probably why.
Probably, mate. They just don't score points. They look like an inept team. In the first halves of games. They don't look much better in the second half of games either, but...
Yeah, they turned it around there for a couple of weeks, and their offense started to look a bit better, but seemed to all turn to shit again.
You know what the difference was? They fired Matt Eberflus. One of the dumbest decisions ever. You put a guy in as an offensive coordinator, and Caleb Williams in the offense looks better instantly, plays better, and it happens for 2 weeks. Then you fire the head coach and decide to put that guy in as the interim head coach, and it all goes to shit, because what do you know? He's got too much on his plate. Like, the Bears, man. The Bears. It's just... You shake your head. Kev did send me a reaction, actually, that I didn't read out, and it was basically the Chicago Bears are an inept franchise. so Kev's got
along with many.
Kev's gotten to that point in his Bears cycle.
Next year will be better.
Yeah. At Super Doinks. Mike McDonald's influence on the Seahawks defense is so impactful, and they'll win multiple playoff games because of it. Multiple, Isaac. I know you're going to have something to say about that, because that would infer that the Seahawks are going to win that division over you guys and get in, and then win playoff games.
Well, that was my reaction. How do you win a playoff game from the lottery? I don't understand.
I don't know either. I don't know how you win a playoff game from 9th place, but apparently you can do it.
Look, let's hope their defense turns to shit for the next 4 weeks. And Gino turns back into the New York Jets, Gino.
If things go the way that you and I think that they'll go, Rams will get that division. Seahawks might end up at 7th. So that would also mean that they would then have to win a playoff game against the Philadelphia Eagles.
Well, at the moment, the Commanders are 7th, aren't they?
They are, but I think the Seahawks would squeak in there if they don't do the division. Just the way it plays out, just because of where the Rams are right now too. It's kind of like a swap, essentially.
Well, you would think that the Seahawks drop their game to the Packers this week. So
I would, as I said. So I think that they would, but I just don't know. I could not see a Seahawks team beating the Eagles right now. I don't see many teams beating the Eagles right now.
I can't see a Rams team beating the Eagles as well.
Yeah.
So that's not just the Seahawks, but back on the influence of the defense. It's been really good, hasn't it? It's been carrying their team really. It
has, and I guess that's what you kind of want when you've got a defensive-minded head coach as well. You would expect that happens. We're going to see a lot more of that defense this week in action against the Packers. That'll be a very intriguing game to watch in terms of the way that the Packers offense have been playing versus that defense, just to see how that shapes out. Because the Packers have sort of, come alive a little bit in the last couple of weeks on offense.
Yeah, and just looking at the results here, the Seahawks have as well. They've won 4 on the trot. So the defense
very
though,
very quietly won 4 on the trot, by the way, too.
Yeah, that's right. But they have let in 21 points to the Jets and 18 to the Cards. So other than the really big score that the Lions put on them, they've been defending really well.
Yeah. And the Lions are out to brute points earlier in the season too, so can't fault them for that. That's for sure.
Yep.
Righto. Well, that's the end of the show for the Wednesday reaction shows. You'll hear this Wednesday. It's Tuesday night right now.
Almost Wednesday.
It's almost Wednesday. It is almost Wednesday. Thank you very much for joining us once again on a reaction show. As I said, hit us up on socials if you'd like to have your say and join in. We welcome all of it. It makes our lives easier and a little bit more entertaining. So thank you very much for listening. Please do tune into the other shows that are going to come out on the feed this week. You'll hear me, definitely, again on the Aussie NFL Fantasy Show, and then the Gday Gridiron Show with Brad and Nick on Saturday, where we will be previewing some games, as we said. We're also going to talk a little bit of college football this week too. College football playoff bracket came out, so we're going to talk a little bit of college football, a very big love of Brad's, so he'll have a lot to say, especially since his Oregon Ducks are the number 1 team in the country right now in terms of America. So he will be loving that. When I texted him, do you want to talk college football this week? His reply was one word, and it was absolutely with an exclamation mark. So,
I was hoping for interesting.
No, that's a Manjot one, mate.
Interesting.
So tune in on Saturday for that. A little bit of college talk, a little bit of NFL game previews, a lot of bloody best bets, and a whole lot of entertainment, hopefully. So thank you very much for listening. On behalf of myself and Isaac, see you later.
See ya.
The Gday Gridiron podcast is brought to you by the Aussie Gridiron Network, a network of Australian podcasts bringing the fun and a little bit of the Aussie larrikin to the NFL and fantasy football. Check out our other amazing productions. Australia's #1 fantasy football podcast, the Aussie NFL Fantasy Show. Everything about the local game at Aussie Gridiron today. Manjot's Pastry Press on Instagram and YouTube, and Australia's very own Dynasty podcast, No Huddle Dynasty. Find links to everything at Linktree /Aussie Gridiron Network.